I want you to go ahead and go ahead and grab your resolutions off the table. I want you to have them in your hands as we're doing this. I want to mention to you that if you're interested in learning more about what I do, because I'm not here to talk about me, I just want to direct you to my website, which is my name, KrisAnneHall.com. And I've written a new book called Sovereign Duty, which gives you the framers' plan on how to rein back in an out-of-control federal government, because believe it or not, they saw that happening in the future. They believed that that was a possibility. So they didn't leave us unprepared. They gave us a plan. And the book Sovereign Duty puts that plan together. Now, I want to mention to you that one of the greatest memories and honors that I've had, that I will look back on my life, was the opportunity that I had to sit with the sheriffs and the oath keepers and help draft this resolution. I am grateful for my work that I have done with CSPOA. I am more proud to be an oath keeper because I am an oath keeper. And I'm even more honored to call Sheriff Mack my friend. And he's much bigger than me, so I'm very happy that he has my 6. Well, John Adams wrote in 1775, "Liberty must be supported at all hazards. We have a right to it derived from our Maker, but if we had not, our fathers have bought and purchased it for us with their ease, their estates, their pleasure, and their blood." Samuel Adams said in 1772, "Among the natural rights of the colonists are these: first, life; secondly, liberty; third, property; together, number 4, with the right to protect and defend them with the best means possible." The Declaration of Independence reads, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Thomas Paine wrote in his pamphlet, The Crisis, "Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods. And how could so celestial an article as freedom be not highly rated?" What were all these men talking about? The rights of men. The inherent rights of men. Not the gifts of government. Because you see, if we're sitting in this room today and we believe that liberty, that our rights are gifted to us by government, if we do not know in our hearts and in our souls that liberty is our inherent possession by the nature of our creation, we might as well all pack up and go home, because we are wasting our time. This is not a republic. This is a kingdom. But what do we do when we have a federal government that's completely out of control? We watched a movie last night, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. It's the first time I've seen that movie. And there was a line that stuck out. I'm sure many of us walked away with a number of one-liners from that movie. It was pretty great. But Mr. Smith said, "Government won't work if you have men who can't tell the difference between the rights of men and a punch in the mouth." But you see, today, we have men in government wanting us to be happy about being punched in the mouth and calling it security. We have an executive branch that is completely out of control, transgressing every boundary established by the Constitution, writing law, overturning law, setting aside law, and promising to do even more. We have Congress, through their political dog and pony shows, refusing to use their constitutional power to limit this executive branch that is constantly stealing legislative power. Through their inaction and their refusal to act, They have declared themselves irrelevant and impotent and creating the destruction of our Constitution and the republic that we know and love. The Supreme Court, in spite of what the federal supremacists would like you to believe, is not the answer to our problems either. After all, this is the Supreme Court of the United States that declared health care a power rightly wielded by the federal government and declared that the EPA can write law in the form of regulation and never even once addressed the fact that the EPA does not even constitutionally exist. You see, and now we have a media who seems to be bent on being the cheerleader for the very tyranny that will enslave them. The very entity that relies on the inherent rights of men to exist are way too willing to sell that out for whatever, who knows, they're getting in exchange. You see, government is not our hope. Government has never been our hope. The hope that we have is knowing that these are our rights and ours to defend. And that's what we're doing today. We're declaring in the midst of government a reminder. Just like John Adams, just like Sam Adams, just like the Declaration of Independence, just like Thomas Paine. A reminder that these rights belong to us. They are not yours, government, to legislate or regulate. You cannot have them. And we will sit idly by no longer. Because you know what? I just want to put you on notice. We have a pen too. And it's the pen that wrote the Constitution of the United States that said you are limited and defined. Declares in the 9th Amendment that all the rights in the universe belong to us and only power is delegated to government in a very limited form. The very pen that wrote the Declaration of Independence that said you are established by us, for us, and we will no longer consent to your transgressions. This resolution that you hold in your hand is a bold declaration of that red line that the government may no longer cross. It says you cannot limit my speech. You cannot limit my protest. You cannot govern my faith. You cannot have my guns. You cannot have my property. You will not have my family. You will not have my child. And you will not have my life. Because you see, in honor of those who sacrificed so much so we could be free, we today are taking a stand. We will make a promise, and I hope that you will join me today in that promise. We will make a promise today to exercise our rights. Because you see, the only way you can defend your rights is through the exercise of your rights. What in heaven's name is the good of freedom of speech if you cannot speak? What is the good of freedom of speech if you will not speak? My favorite founding mother, her name is Mercy Otis Warren. She says, I have my fears, yet we stand resolved in spite of the difficulties that may lay before us. And we are willing to transmit that gift of liberty onto our posterity, even if that means we must seal their fate with our blood. Because that's what it's worth. That's what they pledged to us. Are we better than they? Are we more privileged than them? Are we to declare that we deserve more comfort at the cost of their sacrifice? John Adams wrote to Abigail one day, just, I think, frustrated. How many of you feel frustrated? He's looking out his window, I imagine, waiting for the troops to arrive in Boston, and the numbers just aren't showing up. And he writes to Abigail and he says, "Where is everybody? Are we looking at a loss here because people won't stand?" And then he looks forward at us and says, "Posterity. You will never know what it cost this present generation to secure your liberty." He says, "I hope that you will make good use of it. For if you do not, I shall repent in heaven that I ever took half the pains to secure it." How do John, Sam, and Tom feel today about what we're doing to the liberty that they secured? Mercy and the sacrifices that the women made. How do we defend our rights when we don't even know what they are? Let me ask you a question, just a little litmus test for you, not to answer out loud. The First Amendment is first on purpose, and there are 5 liberties identified in the First Amendment alone. Can you name all 5? Because you see, if you don't know what your rights are, how do you know they're not already gone? Because the point of this is, if you do not know what your rights are, you cannot exercise them. And if you are not exercising them, they are already gone. And so I stand boldly and declare today to the government who wishes to usurp those rights that were sacrificed and bought by the very sacrifices of our founders and framers and the men and women who have come before us. I stand boldly and declare to you today, I will no longer comply. I will no longer sit idly by. You can call me a terrorist. You can call me a rebel. You can call me whatever you choose, but today I stand with John Adams. I stand with Samuel Adams. I stand with James Warren. I stand with Thomas Jefferson. I stand with Penelope Barker, Mercy Otis Warren, and Elizabeth King. I consider that name calling an honor because they were called those names too. So be on notice. It is hereby resolved. You will transgress no more with our consent. We are resolved to defend liberty. We resolve to preserve our rights. Our founders deserve our dedication. Our children deserve our sacrifice. And if your rights make you, if standing for your rights make you uncomfortable, if what I have said here today sounds radical, remember, standing for your rights is only radical to tyrants and slaves. So classify yourself. God bless.
This is former Sheriff Richard Mack. Thank you so much for watching these timely speakers, documenting solutions from modern-day heroes. This movement cannot be successful without the support of the American people. That's where you come in. These conference videos prove that the work we are doing is absolutely making a difference. It is the solution. Donate today at CSPOA.org. Become a member of the CSPOA and strengthen our voice and stand with us for peace and liberty.